These are the ingredients I'm using for my corn egg drop soup. I've got green onion, which I'm going to use a little bit just to garnish on the top. I've got a small piece of tofu, 2 small eggs. If you don't have the tofu, you can skip that. I've got a can of whole corn kernels. This is without salt. Then I have some cornstarch to thicken my gravy soup up. Now this I'm going to use about a tablespoon and a half, and then see if the thickness is enough. Then that's all I need. Rice vinegar, I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of that. You can use less or more according to your taste. Cooking wine, I'm going to do the same. These are Chinese cooking wine. You can find at any Chinese store. I'm going to use about 1.5 teaspoons of white pepper powder, and then I'm going to use another couple of tablespoons of the sesame oil. So that's all you need for your cooking. One more ingredient which I'm going to use. If you have the broth for the cooking, that's fine, but in my case I'm just using this chicken bouillon. It's a chicken powder also they call it, so use that to make your broth. So let's get started on this and see how that comes out. Okay, so I've got about 7 cups of water. This is the size of cup I'm using. One thing which I forgot to mention is I took a very small piece of ginger and just slammed it on with this knife and then chopped it real small. That goes in there. Okay, that goes the first thing. Then I'm going to take the chicken broth and I'm going to add yes, 2 heaps. And I'm going to check and make sure that that's what I'm looking for as per the taste. So you can just see the salt and all. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'll tell you what, let me just add another half in there. Okay, so that's it. That makes your chicken broth. Now in goes the corn, which we just drained off all the water, so that corn goes in next. Okay, as you'll see, this is a very quick recipe, and let that thing come to a little simmer again, and I'm going to add now my white pepper, which is about 1.5 teaspoons of my white pepper goes in there, and mix that well. So here's the white pepper. Then I'm going to add about, like I said, 2 tablespoons of rice wine. So about 2 tablespoons of that. And then about, start with a tablespoon, and so I've got about 1.5 tablespoons in there. And then this is already boiling at the same time. And here's my cornstarch, which I'll do. And once that is in goes my tofu, which I have cut in very small pieces. It's diced like how would you do an omelette onion. So that goes in there. Just wait for that to come to a boil, and I'm going to just add this cornstarch. Like I said, you're going to do little at a time to make sure that you're getting the thickness you're looking for. But just wait till it comes to a boil. And now, see, it's boiling already, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit at a time. Mix that and see what thickness I'm looking for. It still needs more thickness to it, so I'm going to add a little more. Now this is about 2 tablespoons. I put cold water in there. Make sure the water is cold, because otherwise it will be all lumpy and you won't be able to use. So as you can see, the thickness, I'm going to use a little more because I want my soup to be a little more thick. So let's add a little more to that and see what it looks like then. So once it comes to a boil, you'll be able to see the thickness. See, I don't want my soup very thick, so this is the thickness most probably I'm looking at. So that's the perfect thickness. Once I get my thickness to that level, I'm going to go ahead and take my 2 eggs, quickly mix these up. Okay, so once I have mixed these eggs up, I'm going to take my spoon. You know, before I do that, I want to just remove a little of this foam which is foaming on the top. This gives an unpleasant taste to your soup. So go ahead and remove this foam which you have on the top. Okay, so now I'm going to mix my egg in it. Now there are 2 things how you do this. If you want real thin strands of egg in your thing, like they call silky egg, you can turn your heat off and stir this up and then pour this. But if you like it a little thick like my kids do, I'm going to actually keep this doing while I've got the stove on. So you're circling this around like that, and you're pouring your egg in at the same time, and you'll see that beautiful egg will form on the top, which makes that egg drop soup. So once you have that, as you can see, all the egg is formed up, and that's how it looks. I'm going to turn my stove off, and it's going to be served now. And okay, so the soup is ready. We're going to go ahead and serve this in the serving bowl. So let's serve that in the serving bowl, and you're going to just finish it up with some green onions on the top, just like that, and a little bit of sesame oil, a few drops of sesame oil, and it's ready to enjoy.